You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of July 18th, 2024. It's not safe for work.
And this is once again recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we've come to realize that although George Santayana said, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, what he should have said was, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it and drag everyone else along with them. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Hey, Blue Gal.
Hey, I want to thank everybody who remembered my birthday, and it's not too late. My birthday runs all month long.
All month long.
Deeply appreciate all the cards and notes I've gotten so far. Last night, I tried to go to a Moms Demand Action meeting.
Uh-huh.
And things were a little messed up because unexpectedly, the building that we were going to hold our meeting in was locked, which we totally didn't expect. And as Driftglass said, so Democrats in disarray, you just quit, right? At that point.
You just gave up, right? There's no way to fix this.
Shrugged my shoulders, said, that's it. Trump's going to be president. We're done.
Election's over. Might as well go home.
Election's over.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not what we did. We met in the parking lot. And what we were there to do was arrange for more postcards to voters. My particular group is writing postcards to registered Democratic voters in Ohio, not only to encourage them to vote because early voting starts soon, but also to encourage their friends and family to vote and to get the word out. And a very personal handwritten message saying, we are aware that it's likely you've already voted. Please pass this card along to someone else and tell them to vote. And so, we just got the postcards distributed, made sure everybody had enough stamps for them. Everyone was very organized, as they would be. They had little bags with 25 postcards apiece and the addresses and the instructions. And on the bag, it says, do not mail until October 24th. Because, like I said, this is right before the election so that we make sure that we're getting not early voters, but actual last minute, put off the vote, whatever, people to kick in the ass to get out and vote. And this is, believe it or not, Moms Demand Action is nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. So we can't say on the postcard, vote for Biden. We have always said that we're nonpartisan, but we never find any Republicans who want to speak at our meetings or do anything with us. So
that's so weird.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
Especially since, their presidential candidate was the victim of gun violence last weekend. You'd think they might have a change of hearts and minds, but...
or maybe that's why the whole messaging thing changed real fast.
And we're going to go into that in great detail today. Yeah.
But I accept at face value, because I love you and you have a trustworthy face, that all of what you said is true about Moms Demand Action.
Yeah. Well, however, the building was locked. I will tell you that is absolutely true.
it completely screws up my narrative, because my narrative, the thing I'm trying to sell to the New York Times in a guest column, because they're hiring Claremont Institute assholes, they're hiring anybody really, is this little anecdote from the Midwest about Dems being completely disorganized and unable to cope and just running away home and curling up and crying. That's the narrative I want to sell, Blue Gal. And you're messing with that.
I won't let you do that, Driftglass.
I know.
I want to fight. I want to win. I am Edna Mode.
That's right. Go fight, win.
Go fight, win. Mm-hmm. Know who you are, Elastigirl. You are Elastigirl.
My God. What has happened to you? I'm sure I'm getting that wrong.
No, pull yourself together.
And I can't do the slapping sounds while you say that, but there's she loves their little get-togethers.
She does. Come and call me, darling. Call me, darling, when you get back. I love
a little chats.
Yes.
This has been a week. Jesus, it's been a week. I mean, we podcast on Tuesday. Let's go back in time for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You and I podcast on Tuesday. I was an emergency fill-in guest on Brad's podcast Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
You had your knitting podcast, which had to be re-recorded.
I had to record it twice, which seems to be a normal thing these days.
Yeah,
I'm still learning it. Yes.
That was either 12 hours ago or 5 minutes ago because time has no meaning. Meanwhile, the outside world, just everything flew by. Like a whole year passed in a week. And it's not over yet. And there's no way for us to cover even a fraction of it. I mean, that's crazy. And by tomorrow night, everything that we say today might completely be null and void. So at the moment, everything seems to be in kind of free fall.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's no way to establish what I think is called a local vertical, the idea that there's an up and a down, you can pretend that what you're seeing, you can assign a wall to be the up wall and the wall to be the down wall and orient yourself. It gets very disorienting to be in free fall like this. So even in this extremely weird environment, what we're going to try to do is what we do best, what we do every week, which is give you some context, glue some handholds to the wall so you can focus on a few things that explain a whole lot of things.
Yeah. And we've been holding each other's hands a lot this week too.
Yeah. Find yourself a free fall buddy and hang on. But this is something like the idea behind holograms, that a hologram contains the image of the whole object. Every piece of it does. So you can cut the corner off a hologram and see the entire image through it. We try to pick stories that tell a bigger story, that tell you a lot more about the news and how the news works and how politics works from a piece that's visible to us.
But first, we're going to have a weather update, hopefully followed by a nice, smooth transition.
That's the plan. That's the plan anyway, Blue Gal. Yeah.
Apparently, we have had complaints that perhaps our show's getting a little too scripted. We've thrown that out this week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Apparently, Illinois now has a derecho season.
Yeah.
And in case you forgot or don't remember our derecho from last year, this is from weather.com. Quote, a derecho is a large cluster of thunderstorms that most commonly forms in late spring and summer. From the Spanish word for straight, these wind storms leave widespread swaths of straight-line wind damage. The winds can be as strong as 100 miles per hour or higher in extreme cases. A derecho's power and impact is from its size. Also, I would say from its immediacy. It happens very quickly.
Yep.
While a typical tornado can leave a damaged path up to a mile wide and tens of miles long, a derecho can do so over a swath more than 60 miles wide and hundreds of miles long over multiple states. So unquote.
Like a rake made out of tornadoes.
Tornadoes. Yeah. And as I said, last year, we had a derecho in Springfield on June 29th. It tore up central Illinois, including Springfield. You might remember that we did the show remotely because our power was out for almost a week, I think 6 solid days. We stayed in the house for a few days and suffered through the heat. Finally took refuge in a local hotel. I cried because we had to throw out all the food in our freezer. We were able to keep our phones charged and use our laptops thanks to a local coffee shop and the library and extremely useful solar-powered and hand-cranked chargers sent to us by one of my Crooks and Liars colleagues.
Yeah, they arrived really fast, and we were very grateful for all of that.
Yep.
And this year, it's Northern Illinois' turn. This is from the National Weather Service, which, by the way, Project 2025 plans to turn over to private interests. So goodbye.
No more National Weather Service.
No more, because that's just big government, and who knows what they're up to up there in the clouds. Quote, a derecho tracked through northern Illinois and northwest Indiana during the evening of Monday, July 15th, producing widespread straight-line wind damage and numerous embedded tornadoes. As of the evening of July 17th, that's as of yesterday, a total of 19 tornadoes have been confirmed in the National Weather Service Chicago forecast area from this event, unquote. So, first, and most importantly, we really hope and pray that all of our listeners who live in northern Illinois or Indiana or Wisconsin got clipped, or central Illinois, that were in the path of this storm are safe and sound. That's terribly, terribly important to us. We hope you're all safe. We hope everyone's safe and sound, because derechos are scary as hell. Overnight, the sky goes black, winds pick up, temperatures drop, and the sirens go off. And God damn it, this is not a drill.
I mean, within 5 minutes, we went from daylight to pitch dark at noon.
Yeah. And all those little solar powered lights we have sort of plunked down in the yard all went on. So that's how dark it was.
Yeah.
And second, it's no surprise that we out here in the middle of Middle America, where we live, pay real close attention to the weather, especially the farmers, because this cornfield resistance tag that we have is not a lie. We do live a mile from a cornfield. It's all around
Less than
us.
a mile. Absolutely.
That's a major industry in every direction, and they live and die by this stuff. And this summer, the shorter term forecasts have been pretty good, but the longer term forecasts, the 10-day forecasts, have been off, and sometimes like crazy way off, like predictions of torrential storms that never showed up, or predictions of dry spells that were interrupted by rain, rain in the middle of a dry spell. How did that happen? And, as we say, it's good for the crops.
It's good for the corn. It is. And the soybeans.
It's good for the corn.
Yes.
And the soybeans, the good Illinois corn. But it's still the weather. And we also have to deal with it, so we pay attention to it, especially when it changes abruptly. For example, when the temperature drops 20 degrees really fast, we know something big has changed, that something we should be paying close attention to is happening right now. Right. And here
when
comes,
it gets
I'm
pitch
hoping,
dark in the middle of the day, we go to the basement.
We do. We grab the stuff that goes to the basement with us, and we go to the basement.
Yeah.
We have a little preparedness kit that we have. We do not have an external generator, but we have more stuff than we had last year. But now comes the time for the incredibly smooth and unnoticeable transition, Blue Gal.
We're going to talk about what happens when there's an abrupt change in the atmosphere politically. And the very abrupt change in Republicans' rhetoric, which may have switched back already.
We don't know.
And why it's important and why no one in the media is talking about it. Here is a short excerpt from Republican Cook County Commissioner Sean Morrison's press release from yesterday, July 17th. And yes, there are Republicans in Cook County, Illinois.
Believe it or not, there are.
Yep.
We know all of them. There are 9 of them, and we know where they are.
I wish I had some Manavani music to play in the background here. The danger of vitriolic language in politics, a call for civility and respect in Cook County Republican politics. Okay. Right. In recent years, we have witnessed a distressing escalation in the use of vitriolic language in our political discourse.
In recent years,
it has become all too common to see political opponents referred to in dehumanizing terms. Their characters slandered with reckless abandon. This trend is not just divisive, it is profoundly dangerous.
Oh, man. And now I'm afraid. Like derecho afraid,
The consequences of such behavior are far-reaching and severe. And yada, yada, it goes on. Most troubling of all, this toxic rhetoric can incite violence. Okay. He's serious about this, right?
He's serious.
You better be nice from now on.
And I don't know the transition cartoon, but then 3 days earlier,
3 days earlier.
3 days earlier. This is from the same guy 3 days before that on July 14th. This is from social media, and all the misspellings are his own. When leadership of Democrat leftist extreme politicians gin up and gaslight their people with vitriolic rhetoric, former presidents get shot. America know whose hands this blood is on, unquote.
America know?
America know. America tell. America not talking now. America busy. America does not want to hear from you no more. And the Democrat leftist. I guess that's us.
Democrat leftist extreme politicians gin up and gaslight their people. Yeah, okay.
And this is because Republican Cook County Commissioner Sean Morrison got the fucking memo.
Yeah.
This is a time-honored tradition. And if you've been around in politics as we have for decades, you know the pattern. You know what happens when Republicans want to shut down all discussion of their party's depravity, especially, let me quote him now, in recent years. Now that the masks are off and Trump's fascism and thuggery and treason is on full display every day to anyone who wants to see it, they start babbling about civility and how we need to lower the temperature and how truly we are all to blame.
All to blame.
We're all to blame. Joe Walsh, former Congressman, loudmouth Joey Muskus, was out there on social media all day going, this is really all of us. We're all to blame for this. All of us are to blame. We're equally to blame. Like we're all to blame for Joey Muskus getting elected. No, that wasn't us. That was asshole Republicans who elected this moron to Congress. Anyway, once they've done that, once they've started the civility babble about how everyone's to blame and no one's to blame and we're all to blame and social media is to blame, but not anyone specifically and not one particular party, then all they have to do is sit back and wait for the mainstream media tone police to pick up that ball and run it the rest of the way down the field for them.
Yep.
That's how it fucking works. So let's go back to 2 impeachments ago, or 34 felonies ago, or a sexual assault and defamation conviction ago. However you measure time these days. A business fraud conviction ago, or 100 boxes of stolen documents ago, or that attempt to flood the basement of Mar-a-Lago to cover up the stealing of 100 boxes of documents ago, or a seditious conspiracy ago, or even a coup ago. Let's go back to June of 2018. Now, Trump's in the White House. I know it's hard to do. Just relax your mind. This is a little flashback. It won't hurt you, but this is actually history. This actually happened. Trump was in the White House.
If that gives you pain, just remember this is the same year that Republicans lost 41 seats in the House.
They got hog slaughtered. They did. Thanks to Democratic women. Organizing. And
we still are.
And their frivolous pussy hats and their little marches and all those postcards to voters, which don't really matter and they don't change anything.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, yes, they do. So Trump's at this moment in 2018, Trump's in the White House. He's been lying his ass off and selling this country out for about 1.5 years at this point. And then he told this big whopper about needing 5,000 immigration judges, which of course was impossible, which prompted Brother Charlie Pierce. And I wonder if any of you remember this at all. I mean, there's an ocean of lies. We just picked this one because it's so apt and it's timely. But this prompted Brother Charlie Pierce of Esquire, hello, Charlie, I know you listen to us, to write, and this is the headline, "You gotta call a lie a lie." Remember when this was a controversy? Remember when saying something was a lie is a controversy? This is from Mr. Pierce. Quote, "This is all a lie. There is no they. This meeting never happened. Nobody ever told him that we need 5,000 judges. As it happens, there have not been 5,000 judges in the entire history of the federal court system. There are only a little less than 900 judges working in the federal system now, so we do not have thousands of judges already. And the phantom they are wrong about how many judges we have handling these cases now." Mr. Pierce goes on, "But Trump doesn't care. The goobers don't care. And apparently the elite political media is so banjaxed on the subject of civility and what they consider to be fairness that the president could have said, we have 3 million judges and half of them are Martians. And it would have been said of him only that he was obfuscating or exaggerating, especially about the number of Martians." Turns page, because I'm reading from Mr. Pierce. Again, back to Charlie Pierce and my away from my awkward transition. "I mention this because in an unbylined piece on Monday, Dean Baquet, the executive editor of the New York Times, tied himself in a sheepshank trying to explain the rules under which his newspaper would call a lie a lie. Parenthetically, the piece was unbylined because Baquet did away with the job of New York Times public editor over a year ago." Unquote.
So what was the purpose of this particular lie?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
You can see it on display at the Republican National Convention Hate Fest in Wisconsin.
Right now.
On all the identical mass deportation now signs being waved by all the goons in the crowd. And by the way, this convention is puny.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to weddings larger than this convention.
I've been to divorces larger than this. So.
No, this is a broke party.
Yeah.
Who can't afford to fly in and who a lot of people are just not coming. So all these mass deportation signs. This is again from Charlie Pierce 5 years ago. Quote, "Take, for example, the 5,000 judges lie. There is a distinct purpose behind it, and that is to delegitimize all legal restraints on the president. This is straight out of the Republican playbook as rewritten in the days of Ronald Reagan. Starve an agency until it's overwhelmed and then make it an object of scorn and ridicule because it can't do its job.
Mm-hmm.
The president lies about 5,000 judges to demonstrate that he is the only one standing between the country and elite MS-13 enabling pettifoggers. I love Charlie Pierce's writing. Unquote. This was when something was changing out at the periphery of the media. It's what prompted the editor of the New York Times to write weird nonsense about even though Trump quacks like a liar and walks like a liar and lies like a liar, it's so very, very wrong to call him a liar, Driftglass.
So wrong. It's rude is what it is.
It's rude. And it's unprofessional.
It's unprofessional.
A few people had it with wearing out their thesaurus looking and trying to find another word for liar. And so just started using that simple, very accurate 4-letter Anglo-Saxon word, liar, to describe what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's being a liar.
He's lying all the time. And he's a liar all the time.
Yep. Trump was behaving like a monster. A few people had the guts to notice and say it out loud. And that's when the tone police swung into action.
That's right. Can't be having one side being one thing and the other side not being that thing. So the tone police swung into action to stomp all that out. Now, just days later, this is a local story, and some of you might have heard this before, read it on my blog. July 3rd, same year, the publisher of our local Springfield Republican rag, the State Journal-Register, lent his voice to the chorus of very serious media people who want some goddamn civility returned to our fucking public discourse. The headline of the article, remember, this is the publisher of the newspaper. The publisher stepped in to write his own editorial. Civility should still matter. And I got to say, it was glorious. It was wonderful. It was like a museum quality example of this kind of bullshit. It should be under glass somewhere for students to study for the next 1,000 years. I'm going to quote just lines from this article. Quote, technology, which we all apparently love, has played an outsized role, I believe. As technology continues to consume more of our time, we are able to reinforce our beliefs by creating virtual bubbles. These bubbles expose us only to views, statements, and images that reaffirm that we are the right and others are wrong. We block messages. We tune into. We are exposed to fake news. In short, we are to blame. We have become so entrenched in one side or the other. We now label each other with horrible names. We mock those. We stifle free speech by shouting down speakers, unquote. And then the publisher of my local paper, whose offices are literally just steps away from the spot where Barack Obama launched his campaign, wrapped up his editorial like this. Quote, we want our side to win at any cost, and we punish politicians who dare to try to reach a compromise. If they don't stand on the far left line or the far right line, we try to replace them with someone who will. And we've been doing it for too long, unquote. Now, that's horrible enough, right? But the asshole who wrote that is the same asshole who proudly syndicated Ann Coulter and Mark Thiessen in his fucking paper for years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the same asshole who hired infamous right-wing scumbag Ted Nugent and touted him as the best outdoorsman you ever did see to be the spokesman for the hunting and fishing expo that his newspaper was sponsoring. So if you remember one thing from today's podcast, remember this. The tone police serve the Republican agenda. Let me repeat that. The tone police serve the Republican agenda. Their purpose in life is to shut down legitimate, fact-based reporting on the monstrous threat by the right by prattling about civility and reassuring centrists and undecided muppets that, you know, both sides are to blame, Blue. Both sides.
But what we have also learned over the years is that the tone police are cowards.
Yes, they are.
And they will run and hide when challenged. When you say both sides don't and start providing evidence of that, they run away.
They block you, they run away, or they won't let you near a microphone to begin with. Michael Smerconish will never have any such
both
person.
Both sides don't on his show. Nope.
The day will never dawn.
Nope. It's a brittle mask. And if you push on it, it falls apart. We want to talk about this interview. It's up at Crooks and Liars. A British host from a group called the News Agents. Emily Maitlis put on a master class interviewing Carrie Lake. Now, Carrie Lake. That's really all I need to say.
Right.
But it's really important, and I'm not going to play a Carrie Lake interview on my show.
No.
I want to make that clear.
But
go over to Crooks and Liars and you can hear it. Here's the deal. It's only about 4 minutes. And remember, Carrie Lake agreed to this interview.
Yeah. And what they did was they loaded her up with the RNC talking point software.
Right.
So her job was to go in there and talk about civility and talk about how awesome Republicans are and just stick to the fucking party line.
And stick to the party line. And, we're moving forward. This is a glorious moment in the history of freedom. Yeah. So she was asked about this. What is this sudden interest in unity and civility given your past? And Lake said that she believed the tone had always been good. Our tone has always been good. Mm-hmm. And she launched into this list of standard Republican talking points about the border and lowering prices and things that everybody wants.
Everyone agrees to these things. Everyone wants that.
And so she was pushed back just even slightly. Lake says, well, it's really the media's fault. All those media people out there calling Donald Trump Hitler.
Yeah.
And that's when Ms. Maitlis said, you mean like J.D. Vance?
Yeah. She did that thing.
And you can just see, if you're watching this, Carrie Lake's eyes just sort of do a reboot.
Lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and despite all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in, they rip you to pieces.
And it's important to note that Ms. Maitlis is doing a thing that no one living on a CNN paycheck would ever think of doing.
Right.
Which is challenging someone with a follow-up question to a lie they just told to your face.
Mm-hmm. But you see, Carrie Lake, as she resets, says, well, J.D. Vance was a victim of fake news in the media, and now he's come to his senses. So Maitlis pushes on and asks Carrie Lake about the past.
Oh, no.
Are you still insisting that the 2020 election was illegitimate? Are you still insisting that your own election in 2022 was illegitimate? Are you still insisting that the Secretary of State of Arizona printed fake ballots in your election? And you're being sued for that, for defamation. The man says you ruined his life. And Carrie Lake has no self-control. She can sit down with the script, but if you push back or go off script and push her, she loses it. Oh, well, you're just some British idiot. You know nothing about American elections. You just sit there smirking. You really need to have your head examined. I feel sorry for you.
Mm-hmm.
And T. Rolston on Twitter said, American here didn't know who Emily Maitlis is, but I am now appreciative of her work. I hope Maitlis is well fed by CNN, the New York Times, and other big names at the convention because she just stole their lunch money.
Yeah, she sure did.
And that's the fact. And that is what's brilliant about T. Rolston is he sees that this isn't about going after Carrie Lake. This is about showing mainstream American outlets what fucking failures they are.
Well, and when you see someone from another country arrive here and they're doing basic journalism, and you're so used to being shit on and lied to and let down by the mainstream media that it seems like a revolution. It seems like something incredibly transgressive. My God, she's asking follow-up questions? I didn't even know you were allowed to do that. Isn't that against the law?
She's asking about actual defamation lawsuits that have been filed in court, right?
Yeah, and the lies she told, and the lies she told out loud, and the lies she's still telling. When you see someone doing just basic journalism, and you think, this is a revelation. I've never seen anything like this before. You can understand.
By the way, Maitland invited Carrie Lake to defame the Secretary of State of Arizona on the air again.
And she stepped right into it.
She did. She did.
And when you see that happening, you can understand for a moment just how far American political journalism has fallen.
Mm-hmm.
How completely craven they are, how complicit and career focused and frankly terrified of offending Republicans the media has become. And that's not the worst part. The worst part is how so much of the public has become so comatose by this steady drip of both sides do it, everyone's to blame, narcotic, that they're ready to just let their democracy slip out of their hands with no fight at all. There's no fight left in them. Sure, whatever, just take it, just leave me alone. It's both sides, it's everyone. And how whenever there's any danger of anyone shouting loud enough to wake the fucking public up, what happens? The first line of defense is always to call out the tone police and shut it down. Shut it all down. Yep.
Where's your civility? Yeah. Now, we talked a lot on the Tuesday show, and we got a lot of really good feedback. Do you know, Driftglass, that since our Tuesday show, we have 5 new Patreons in 1 week?
That's not possible, Blue Gal.
That's
no.
that for us. That's a lot.
It is.
Having an extra $25 a month is a lot to us. Yeah. And thank you for becoming a Patreon. We really appreciate
goal,
it.
You should tell people our goal is to steal 1/3 of the Pod Save America audience. Not steal, but have them come over here.
Flow over. Yes.
You know,
Old Pod Save America, Gold Professional Left Podcast.
We're just a small mon pa shop. We make enough pie for one day and enough coffee for everyone. But there's always room in the back for new arrivals, and everyone's welcome. And we will never insult your intelligence. We might tell you things you don't want to hear and you disagree with, but we try not to insult your intelligence, and we try to tell you what we honestly think as 2 middle-aged married folks living in the middle of America see all around us every day. That's what we bring to the table.
Yep. So we spent a lot of time talking about the so-called dump Biden for the Magic Pixie Dream candidate, Joey Unbeatable.
Yeah.
Which is appearing more and more every moment as a conspiracy rather than a movement.
Right.
And Driftglass, you asked me this morning, you said, I'm just getting low. I think we're really going to need a Bible bitch today.
Yeah.
And I said, nope. Instead, I'm going to quote this B.J. Gallagher Huffington Post article from 2011 on monkey mind, because that's what's going on right now. And this is the quote from the article. Quote, Buddha described the human mind as being filled with drunken monkeys, jumping around, screeching, chattering, carrying on endlessly. That's social media also. We all have monkey minds, Buddha said, with dozens of monkeys all clamoring for attention. What's the loudest monkey, Driftglass? Fear. Fear is the monkey that sounds the alarm incessantly, pointing out all the things that we should be wary of and everything that could go wrong. Buddha showed his students how to meditate in order to tame the drunken monkeys in their minds. It's useless to fight with the monkeys or try to banish them from your mind because, as we all know, that which you resist persists. Instead, Buddha said, if you will spend some time each day in quiet meditation, simply calm your mind by focusing on your breathing or a simple mantra, you can, over time, tame the monkeys. They will grow more peaceful if you lovingly bring them into submission with a consistent practice of meditation. I found that the Buddha was right. Meditation is a wonderful way to quiet the voices of fear, anxiety, worry, and other negative emotions, unquote. Now, everybody here knows I'm a knitter. That is a very meditative practice. But also I found doing postcards to voters, and I suggest you Google that if you haven't done that and you have an interest in doing postcards to voters, Google postcards to voters. There are several groups doing that. And that is very meditative and really soothes and calms down the monkeys in my brain. Because I've done something to focus my mind that's going to make a difference. I'm going to write to this person and ask them to vote. And while I'm quieting down all that noise, I want you all to know that my favorite mantra is fuck that noise.
I don't take it personally when you say that. I assume it's not directed at me.
It's not directed at you. It's never directed at you. But yeah.
But I had one thing that by the venerable Mark Twain. This quote by Mark Twain. I looked it up so I wouldn't misquote it. This is Mark Twain said, "I am an old man, and I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe.
Mm-hmm.
Worrying
Mm-hmm.
doesn't solve anything. It uses up an enormous amount of energy, an enormous amount of fear-based energy. And it happens to me. I catastrophize all the time. I assume when I get in the car sometimes that it'll blow up. We'll never make it. We're doomed.
Well, I have no brakes.
I have no brakes. We're all screwed. I know where that comes from. I know
Yeah.
I have parents, late parents, who I can blame for those things, but part of it's me. A big part of it's me. We all do that to one extent or another. You know who doesn't worry about anything? Sociopaths.
Yeah.
You know, they don't worry about a damn thing. But it is unproductive to worry and fret and stew over things over which you really don't have any control, and insert yourself into arguments with people who have no stake in it really and no way to control the outcome. They just want to fight, and make sure you know my opinion. Now, we do this. We have a podcast. This is the sort of thing we do. But fearing things that you can't control, worrying about things that may never happen, is exhausting. And there's so many postcards that need to be written to so many voters.
Yeah, right.
But you can use that energy, channel it into doing something productive.
Yeah. Or join a text chain. There's all kinds of things you can do. Blow in calls to Arizona. You know, there are people out there looking for volunteers.
I guarantee you, your local Democratic Party office wants you to go out with a clipboard and a pal and register voters.
Right.
And ask them how they're voting and distribute literature and reassure people who are freaking out. There's plenty to be done. And fear is not shouldn't be the number 5 thing on your priority list, or number 7 or number 2. It shouldn't dominate anything. Of course, I said should a lot, didn't I?
I want to end our conversation here before we go to the news roundup with these 2 college-age men being interviewed. And I am sure this is scripted, but still. These 2 college-age men, and the first one is very informed, and the second one is eating an ice cream cone, and he is not informed, but he has wisdom beyond his years. So let's play this audio from TikTok, of all places.
And if you guys had to vote for one, who would you vote for, Trump or Biden?
Biden, yeah.
How come?
Because, I think there are many reasons. I think Biden really succeeded over the past 4 years, passing a lot of bipartisan infrastructure, like negotiating that stuff, signing it into law, between like the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Science Act. I think that he's really made a significant investment in domestic industry, and I think that it's going to pay off. And I think that our economy is improving, inflation is coming down, and I think it's working. So, yeah.
All right. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the deep state's doing a good enough job. So even if Biden's not with it, like whoever's pulling the strings for him, I'm fine to just have them keep doing it.
So you think the team behind Biden is good enough?
Yeah.
Are you okay with having a puppet as a president?
Yeah.
All right. It's about damn time to do news roundup, Blue Gal. And remember, as of this moment, this is the news. This could all be gone like dust in the wind an hour from now. So take it for what it's worth. Future generations, if we sound like idiots, we gave it our best. The first item is Joe Biden has COVID. And the reason we know that is because Joe Biden always shares his medical information with the public. We know nothing about Donald Trump's injury from the shooting last weekend. We know zip. We know Trump never shares his medical information with the public. We don't know what drugs he's on, what sort of weird stuff he injects between his toes, what goes up his nose, whether or not he's suffering from some sort of dementia. It certainly seems like it, because Donald Trump won't let anyone know anything about what's going on in his body or in his head.
Yep.
Because he's a liar, and he's terrified of people finding out how sick and weird and bent and twisted he is.
Yep. Here are 2 other American media persons talking about a bad thing that would happen if Biden loses. Dave Weigel, one bad scenario for Dems, they lose, and Trump Vance inherit a Goldilocks economy. Biden years are remembered as the inflation years that Trump had to come and fix, even though, Biden laid the groundwork for it. Chris Hayes replies, "Oh, that's absolutely what will happen if Trump wins. It will start on January 20th or even before." The passivity of these 2 Gen Xer white boys talking about the inevitability of verifiable truth immediately being shoved down the memory hole and replaced by a giant lie. And they're just passive about it.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. It should piss you off.
Absolutely. It does. It's crazy. I mean, it really is. Well, nothing to be done about it.
But the book on tyranny tells us do not surrender in advance.
Yeah. And that's what this is.
And that's what MSNBC did with taking Morning Joe off the air on Monday morning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm no fan of Morning Joe, but
no,
man, cowardly.
No, we're not. But
and let's not forget that Donald Trump inherited an economy that was back on its feet thanks to Barack Obama. Barack Obama had to clean up a Republican mess.
Yep.
Democrats are always hired to clean up Republican disasters. Then Republicans blame them for the deficit and take credit for all the seeds that Democrats planted in the ground sprouting.
Is George W. Bush still alive, Driftglass?
Oh, yeah. No, he's around. He's clearing brush
somewhere. He's not around in Wisconsin this week.
No, he's not. Romney's not there.
Mike Pence isn't there.
Dick Cheney. Of course, Dick Cheney is a cyborg at this point, so he can't fly because he sets off the metal alarms. But yeah, no, it's maddening to see people with massive media platforms. And Chris Hayes has his own show.
Yeah.
Saying, well, they're going to lie and there's nothing can be done about it. Let's just move on. That's just the way things are going to be because, man in media shakes fist about media is just the dumbest thing ever. Now, remember, the next one is about this is Donald Trump who denies ever having sex with the Heritage Foundation or knowing anything about Project 2025. This is in April of 2022, him keynoting a heritage dinner as it began to work on Project 2025. This is a Trump quote. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America, unquote. So, lying.
Marjorie Taylor Greene had quite the temper tantrum at the Republican convention as the tone police were fanning out to spread blame for the vitriol everywhere. In the middle of an interview, Marge called the reporter a little liar.
You're a little
Quote,
liar.
You're the cause of President Trump almost being assassinated.
Yeah. Mike Johnson.
Way to dial down the temperature, Marge.
Mike Johnson, it says in the Bible something about controlling the woman shall be silent. I thought you were a Bible believer, man. I thought you were one of those Bible guys. On the same night, the RNC distributed mass deportation signs now. NBC anchors praised the GOP for toning down their rhetoric. Isn't that nice?
We are not watching this. We're getting these clips off of social media.
This was the same night that RNC Speaker and wannabe SS officer Thomas Homan said Trump plans to round up millions of Latinos into mass detention camps as part of Project 2025. Start packing now. Little side note, Thomas Homan was the most recent guest of the Sangamon County, Illinois Republican Party as their guest speaker that they do every year to raise money to keep people like him in power and get more lunatics elected. This is a routine thing for them. They hire the worst scumbags in the world. They bring them on board for 35, 40 grand. They have them in for one night. And so that's why if you really want to know what the Republican Party is up to out here in the real world, you kind of got to talk to people who don't live in New York, LA, or DC. Talk to us out here. As you know, my wife conducted an extensive focus group at a Pennsylvania diner this weekend. And the results are amazing. So if you want to hear from us on these subjects, if you want to hear from liberals on the subject, if you want to hear what's really going on out here in the real world, talk to people like us.
Carolee Kuntz at Crooks and Liars has a very good article up today about why isn't the media talking to Democrats in diners this week?
Ever. Never.
They never do. And if they would talk to Democratic base voters, they would find out that Joe Biden is the candidate we want to represent us on the ticket this year.
Well, that's why your mom's demand action thing screwed me up, because that's not the narrative I want to tell, Blue Gal.
You want to talk about Dems in disarray.
Dems in disarray. And I'm not going to let any facts or information or new data interfere with that.
We absolutely rocked that meeting and got done what we needed to get done, even though the door was locked. Yeah.
Back to the RNC. This was also the same night that speaker after speaker declared a literal invasion of gangs and rapists. Speaker after speaker attacked and mocked trans kids. The night was this was the night of the party anointed J.D. Vance, who celebrated the murderer Kyle Rittenhouse as a model of values.
From Brian Beutler, live from the Pod Save Panic Room, where he is otherwise, that flailing goober. But he made sense when he said, quote, "There was nothing in my training when I was on a policy beat that told me I had to play dumb with lying politicians. But apparently that's in many newsroom manuals."
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, so we're doing a completely new tone here at the RNC.
That's right.
With the mass deportation now signs waving in the audience.
Shh, don't talk about the war. Don't talk about the war. In case you were wondering how Rudy Giuliani's doing these days, the answer is he appears to be drunk off his ass at the convention. Open bar, falling down,
yes.
stumbling into chairs, has to be helped back up again. I'm not saying that I know that he was drunk. I'm just saying allegedly Rudy Giuliani has a lot to drink about because a federal judge dismissed Rudy Giuliani's bankruptcy protection case, clearing the way for creditors to pursue and potentially seize his assets.
Lev Parnas told Rachel Maddow a couple of years ago, Rudy's drunk all the time.
Yep.
We know Rudy was drunk on election night.
Yep.
In 2016, he was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's got a drinking problem. Allegedly. For the record, J.D. Vance has embraced Trump's America First policies, criticized U.S. aid to Ukraine, praised authoritarian Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, opposed abortion rights even in the case of incest or rape. So children being raped do not get access to care. He introduced a ban on gender-affirming care for minors, claimed the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. And he doesn't believe that climate change is real, Driftglass.
Yeah.
However, just a few short years ago in 2016, J.D. Vance called Trump noxious, unfit for our nation's highest office, and said he loathed him and compared him to Hitler.
But, as we know, that wasn't the real J.D. Vance talking. That was the fake news media.
Right.
Brainwashing
he was influenced
him.
by the brainwashing media.
By
yes,
the
that's
George
what Carrie
Soros
Lake
fake,
says. Yes.
If you can't believe Carrie Lake, really, who can you believe? Teamster President Sean O'Brien can go piss up a rope as far as I'm concerned. Joe Biden has been more pro-union and done more for unions than any president in Sean's lifetime. And the reason I know that is Sean O'Brien said so right after he spoke at the Republican convention. So you got to wonder, what do they have on this guy?
Well,
or is he
what does he want from Trump?
Right.
That's the deal.
Yep.
From Joe Conason, I know we talked about him on Tuesday. Quote, "Today, the New York Times editors sent an email with this preview line, J.D. Vance's speech was masterly. It's the latest inspiration for my next book, working title, How the New York Times Destroyed Democracy. Now get this, Driftglass, the years are 1994 to 2024.
Yeah, well.
You got to applaud Joe Conason for noticing there's a year before 2015.
Yeah. And that's something that we did talk about on the Bradcast yesterday. Again, I was a late addition to the Bradcast. It's that all of these news organizations continue to pretend the Republican Party was founded in 2016.
Right.
It just came into existence overnight, the entire Republican Party in a part and parcel, intact as it looks now, in 2016. And anything before that is just mysterious or never happened. Now, there is a jillion more stories to talk about, and we know that. And there's a jillion more offenses and lies and things that happen on the RNC that make you want to just throw up into a bucket till the bucket's full and you got to get another throw-up bucket. But rather than bother you with that, we noticed that somehow more than 50 years ago, Monty Python's Flying Circus managed to cover the RNC convention, the conservative media spin, the cluelessness of undecided voters, and the uselessness of the mainstream media all in one skit. So we urge you to go watch the Mr. Hilter sketch as Mr. Hilter is running for election in the by-elections in Minehead, which, as you know, is a small British town where there are 9 people.
Yep.
And Mr. Hilter is going to stage his comeback.
Comeback. But nobody's calling it a comeback.
No.
Because he's Mr. Hilter.
Mr. Hilter. Stum.
Oh, thank you, Dirklas. Each week we post to our Facebook page and website an internet kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's internet kitty is Whiskers.
Oh.
Whiskers is a Whiskers. He is a very charming gentleman of about 12 years old who lives in Nova Scotia. This is from one of our Canadian listeners. Thank you so much. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your cat will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured. And I can guarantee you, Whiskers eats freshly poured cat food.
Freshly poured, oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
You can visit Whiskers. Whiskers is definitely related to Olive, our cat. This is a beautiful black cat. Visit Whiskers at our Facebook page or website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go Postal Unions! Letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
Don't forget our gourmet coffee guidelines. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage any place but Starbucks, for yourself, buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job. So if you can spare $5 a month, please spare $5 a month at patreon.com/ProLeftPod. Please share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, please get some hapless, clueless Pod Save America fan to listen to it, because you know they're going to love it as well. And thank you for doing that.
Starbucks is sponsoring the Republican National Convention this week.
Yeah, in case you didn't know.
In case you missed it.
Yeah. See, there's always news. We'll cram in news any which way we can.
And, you know, Dirk Glass, I haven't set foot inside a Home Depot since they funded George W. Bush's second inaugural.
No, dead to me.
So I take my boycotts very seriously.
Yeah. Bill Maher? Bill Maher? What about Bill Maher?
Dead to me since he had Milo Yiannopoulos on. Dead.
Dead.
Yep.
Dead.
Yep.
I've never regretted once following my wife's advice when it comes to boycotting people who are really horrible.
Just awful. I will miss my Starbucks, but I will not do it. You supported not just Republicans. You supported the Republican National Convention and put your logo in their program.
Mm-hmm.
Dead to me. So, Drift Class, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Hell of a transition, Blue Gal. The Internet Kitties say rest in laughter to Bob Newhart. We all know what everyone is saying in heaven tonight.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. Don't hi, Bob me.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Let's think about living.
Think about living.
Let's think about loving.
Think about loving.
Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the loving, loving, loving. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.